All right, guys. Got a couple of things to run through before we welcome our special guest to the Zoom this week. Really excited to have a chat with him. But look, we don't have any games this week because of the long weekend. You've all got a weekend off. And I have looked forward to the following week just to recognise the milestones because we won't have a Zoom next Monday night because of the public holiday. And we won't have training this Wednesday. So we've got a bit of a break from seeing each other for a few days, but just looking forward to Saturday week. The 50th game will be Alex Wood in the field, Tyler Rouston, my lad, on the boundary, and Sam Turner in the goal. 100th game, Chris Lambert, Will Scott Young, and Cliff Vanderpoel, all fieldies, and Diane Johnson in the goals. And 200th game to Hung AU, and Adam Forster. So well done, guys, to for all of you guys reaching your milestones. So as I mentioned, no training or games this week. Looks like Wednesday night's going to be pretty wet. So it's probably, we'd made the decision before the forecast came out that way. But yeah, we'll have the night off training this Wednesday, give everyone a break. We'll be back on deck Wednesday week, the 14th of June. So we were going to have the Umpires Association Schnitzel night this Wednesday. We've now delayed that to the following week. So snitty with Smitty, as they call it. So look forward to catching up with everyone after training next week. Just want to touch on a couple of things that arose from the weekend's games. I think some of you know the system really well and are using matchday officials as they should be. And for others of you who might be new to the league or need a reminder, I think there are times where we're not using them. I don't want to see umpires send in notes through Officials HQ saying, can you please address this? This is a problem we faced on the day, and you've done nothing about it during the game. Matchday officials are there to address primarily off-field issues. So we want you to engage them. So things like umpire abuse from around the coach's bench or umpires abuse from other parts of the oval. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. Inappropriate behaviour from scoreboard attendants. Simon Farrell did a really good thing in a B grade game at Mitchell Park on the weekend. The young club boundary umpire apparently has autism, was mouthing off at spectators and players from the opposition. And 3/4 time he asked him to be replaced, which is totally appropriate. So that was a club boundary umpire that Simon acted on. But there was a game where scoreboard attendants had misbehaved, and we didn't use the matchday officials, and that's a learning experience for that umpire. But just remember, they're there to address those issues. And just getting back to the umpiring abuse, if it is coming from the coach's bench, you know it's from the coaches or the players on the bench, just pay a free kick. Just don't have to put up with it. If you're not sure whether it's like spectators surrounding the coach's bench, that's where you engage a matchday official, ask them to just give them a warning, and if it continues, start paying free kicks. What I don't want to see is you pay free kicks against spectators around the ground. However, if you're copping too much abuse from spectators around the ground, that's where you let the matchday officials know, and you expect to see some action. If the matchday official doesn't attend to your concern, you can stop the game and say, I'm not going to start the game until it is sorted out. So there's ways of dealing with things on the day. As I said, we're not going to address things during the week if you haven't bothered to use what's there for you during the match. Any questions on any of that before we invite AFL umpire Tom Bryce to the Zoom? I actually do have one other thing to mention. We've got Samford W Grand Final this week, and we've got a number of guys that have umpired with us in recent times who have been appointed. So Cameron Scott, Paul Smith, and Josh Abbott are going to be the field umpires for that grand final. And on the boundary, Jude Heaps, Naomi Anderson, Emma Jones, and Tristan Rogers. So well done to you guys. All right. Without any further ado, I'm starting to lose my voice. I've got a bit of a bug. So the week off has come at a good time for me. But I don't have to do all the talking for the rest of the Zoom. I'm going to ask a few questions. But Tom, could you just unmute yourself, mate? And love to introduce you to the Adelaide Footy League umpiring panel. Tom Bryce, welcome to the Zoom meeting this week.
G'day, Colin. G'day, crew. Thanks for having me, and yeah, congrats to all the upcoming milestones and grand final umpires. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
Now, there'll be a lot of people on this call that wouldn't have a clue who you are, because your first year at AFL, and you've really established yourself at sample level for a while now, and you've pretty much been unobtrusive in your AFL debut season, which has been great. Just let everyone know about your background, a little bit about you personally and your umpiring background.
Yeah, so I started umpiring footy, a bit of school footy. I've got two younger brothers, and yeah, often mum and dad would drag us all out to games, and instead of sitting on the sidelines and watching, I'd just get involved and umpire school footy there in, I think it was called the Glenelg and West Adelaide School Footy Association zone back then. It's probably sample juniors now, and yeah, loved it. Playing footy at the same time for Plympton Bulldogs, and my brother still plays out at Plympton, so love getting down to Plympton and watching some quality footy there, and seeing all you run around. And yeah, basically got invited out to the Sandful Academy under Gary Wild there, and yeah, at the time was sort of in two minds whether this was really for me or whether I go down a different pathway. And yeah, it was probably one of the best decisions I've made. More so for the mateship side of things, I think, Colin. Some of my best mates I met out at the Sandful, and yeah, was out there from 2014 through to the end of last season. And as you do, you just progress through the ranks, and yeah, AFLW gained some great experience in that competition when it started in 2017, and have been an AFL rookie for the previous 3 seasons, and with the I guess introduction of a fourth field umpire this season, was fortunate enough to earn a spot on the senior AFL list and relocate across to Victoria at the start of this year with my lovely partner Danielle. So yeah, that's a very brief snapshot.
Yeah, nice. So we'll get onto a AFL journey in a minute, but let's discuss Sandful first. So how many grand finals did you do? And I know you won a golden whistle along the way too. Just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I did my league debut in 2018, round 1. It was Port and Adelaide at Alberton, and that was awesome. You know, I remember as a kid going to a lot of Sandful games. You know, West Adelaide was around the corner from my house. Norwood, the parade on a Friday night was always a staple, and Dad and my brothers would go along, and that's just what we did, and how I fell in love with Sandful footy. So to make my league debut was kind of a pinch yourself moment. You'd see guys like yourself, Colin, running around, and you know, never in your wildest dreams expect to be out there one day yourself. So yeah, just the first year we were fortunate in the Sandful, a lot of senior guys, you know, Corey Bowen, Andrew Crosby, Theron, some absolute legends with wealth of experience, and running with them really accelerated my development, and I'll always be grateful for that. And yeah, 2019 had a pretty strong end to the season, and yeah, was fortunate enough to do a couple of finals, and then get the nod for the 2019 grand final. Was yeah, one of the most memorable days of my umpiring journey to date, that's for sure. Glenelg and Port Adelaide with Cros and Mitch Harris, and yeah, I remember that day Cros was in the race with me, walking out, and he just basically pulled me aside and was like, just embrace the next couple of minutes, they'll be the greatest couple of minutes of your life. And yeah, he wasn't far off it, because it was pretty awesome running out there in that game. And yeah, did another couple of grand finals last season and the year prior, which were all special and unique, and each year had their own challenges. But I was really proud of how I was able to come back each year and improve and earn my spot in the grand final each year.
Yeah. And last year was your big year with your golden whistle, and the Norwood premiership, which was a pretty amazing game.
Oh yeah, it was an epic game. I'm sure a few people on this call would have tuned in. Yeah, unbelievable, and they're the games you want to be a part of, to be in the middle of Adelaide Oval in that moment when Matt Panos obviously kicks that go-ahead goal was yeah, it was pretty special day for Sandford footy and Norwood obviously, and yeah, like the golden whistle was you know, you look at the list of names on that list, and it's just legend after legend, and you kind of yeah, it doesn't really feel like I should be on that list. A little bit of me is like, oh, I'm not sure I fit with some of these names, but it's a great honour, and I think the Sandford, the history there is something which I just highly value, and yeah, I'll always be proud of that golden whistle.
You're a very humble guy, and I first got to know you in, I think it was 2018. Was it 2018? You went to the under-18 championships in Melbourne.
Yep, correct. Yep, your memory's better than your bus driving or your van driving that trip. You, had a man.
I've forgotten about that, but yeah, thanks for reminding me. So yes, that was memorable in itself, because I know you umpired what turned out to be like the grand final. Pretty much, it was South Australia Victoria to win the championship, and Isaac Rankin kicked 5 goals, and that was a pretty amazing experience too.
Yeah, it was great to be involved in a national championship and represent your state. I remember that week, or that week fondly. I missed a pretty bad dangerous tackle down at Geelong, and it's always sort of stuck in my mind. This was sort of prior to dangerous tackles really having the education and the coaching that we have now, and yeah, definitely learned a lot about myself that week, and yeah, I was really proud of how I was able to respond after having that missed dangerous tackle in the first game of the week, and then come back a few days later and put in a strong performance in the, as you termed, SA versus Vic Metro was pretty much the championship game. So no, great weekend or week, and a lot of fun. I know Nath Toner, who's on the AFL list now. I ran with him as well, which and Dan Johansson as well, actually. So a couple of guys who are on AFL list now, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was going to mention Dan and Nathan.
Yeah,
I guess hit AFL pretty quickly, and you had to wait your time a bit more. Are you someone that gets impatient? Did that bother you at all?
Well, that's a good question. If you ask my partner Danny, she would say I'm definitely impatient. But I guess for me, it was always the Sandford and the environment under Shane. It's a perfect environment for someone like myself to develop and harden me up. So when I come into the AFL, I'm confident in my abilities. I've done really competitive games in high intensity environments. So that was always in the back of my mind, that just stay the course, keep working on what I know I need to work on, and ultimately it doesn't matter where you're from, you reach the highest level if you're good enough.
And AFLW, when did that come along, and how did you find that experience?
Yeah, so 2017, the inaugural season, I was lucky enough to be involved in that competition, and yeah, I remember watching the first game. Was it Collingwood and Carlton, or I reckon Collingwood Carlton. I was watching on the TV. I was appointed for the Adelaide GWS game the next day, and just flicked it on the telly, and it was a lockout. 10,000 people at Icon, whatever it was. I was like, oh, could be on to something here. So Thebby Oval was packed out the following day for Adelaide's first game, and it was awesome to be involved in that competition. The travel component and exposure to, I guess, broadcasted games, media involvement. and a coaching environment that's very similar to the AFL environment. So I would definitely say it fast-tracked my development. And I love being involved in the AFLW, that's for sure.
So let's move on to the men's AFLW. And you mentioned you were a rookie for a while, so that meant sitting on the sidelines for a lot of games. Did you ever have to come on as an emergency, or was it pretty much you watched a lot of footy on the sides?
No, never had to come on except for the odd run a drink out or whatnot, which was always a bit of fun. I had number 46 on the back of me when I was a rookie, so you'd get a few comments. My favourite was I'd be compared to Valentino Rossi, number 46, as I was running water off. But no, a funny story. I guess my debut was as I was still a rookie. It was 2021, and it was sort of peak of COVID, and all the Victorian-based umpires weren't able to come into South Australia. So Giles and myself, along with a couple of the WA guys, Jeff Dalglish and Dan Johansson, we ran a game, Port versus Fremantle in round 11 of 2021. So that was great exposure as a rookie. To be appointed to a game. Normally you might get a call up when someone goes down or there's an incident where you have to come in off the bench, but that was a pretty special day and great to share it with Giles, a fellow SANFL umpire.
So you sort of had two AFL debuts in a way, really. You count this year as your AFL debut. Talk about how it all unfolded this year for you. Obviously, 4-umpire system did work in your favour, but the move to Melbourne and everything that happened at the end of last year, just run us through that.
Yeah. I guess following the SANFL season, you have a little break period, and then the AFL sort of invited me to have an interview, just like this, a Zoom interview essentially. And yeah, from that, there was sort of maybe 4 weeks before they came back with an outcome on how that went. I felt it went well, and I'd given it my all, both in that interview and in my umpiring. So I was really comfortable and didn't really think about it until Adam Davis gave me a call. As I said, about four weeks later, I was at work, I remember, and he informed me that I'd been successful and been elevated to the senior list. And Michael Jennings followed up with a call not long after, and they were pretty special moments. And I didn't actually tell anyone I didn't tell my partner for about a day or so, because I wanted to. We weren't living together at the time, so I was like, "Oh, come grab coffee," and basically explained it all to her, and some nonchalant, but that all went well. And then had mum and dad and Danny's parents over for dinner, and broke the news to them, which was probably more special than finding out myself. Like that was what it was, but to see your family members, that was pretty cool. So following that, there were my partner, as I said, Danny, she's fantastic and so supportive, and she was in no second thoughts as to moving over to Melbourne. And so we relocated at the start of the year, drove over on the 2nd of Jan, and set up with Jamie Broadbent, a fellow South Australian field umpire, and have since found our own place. But for us, it was just important that we take our time and have things like work in place, a place to stay, all those little logistical things. And the AFL were really supportive of that and made the transition across really smooth.
So it's not like a few years ago when you had to live in Melbourne when you were on the panel. It has changed. So did you ever actually consider staying in Adelaide?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you're right. It's not like it used to be. For me, it always came down to wanting to maximize my potential and never wanting to look back and be like, oh, what if? So for me, there was no second thoughts about it. If I was getting on the AFL list, I would be moving to Melbourne, just so I could, I guess, be around the majority of the group and build some relationships, which is important for me as an umpire, as I'm sure everyone on this call can attest. If you're with people, you have that trust and that synergy. So I really felt that was important, and also just to be over here with the coaches to do VFL games when I'm not in the AFL, and to have that, I guess, exposure to that in-person coaching environment. So yeah, there was never really a second thought, to be honest, Colin.
Is it something that you one day might, once you've established yourself on the panel, head back?
These are hard-hitting questions. Yeah, like who knows? Yeah, just trying to take it day by day, kind of thing, and we'll see. Cross that bridge when if it comes. Yeah, the good thing about Melbourne is it's not too far away from Adelaide, and yeah, family and friends are incredibly supportive of Danny and myself here. So yeah, we'll see.
And so what do you do for work? What job have you got?
Yeah, so I'm an exercise physiologist. So I'm working as a rehab consultant, 30 hours per week. So it's a good balance. And yeah, I feel it's important that I have an interest and a focus away from footy, and yeah, I can devote time and attention there. I think having that balance is really important, and also it's something I want to do and forge a career in as well. So yeah, we'll see where that takes me. I love teaching and helping students. That was a large part of my role in South Australia. So if I could work in a university system one day, I think that would be really cool. But yeah, we'll see.
Now, before I forget to ask, because there will be people on the line that will want to follow you after hearing from you, what number are you? And once you've given us that information, tell us about your first game. I think it was round 1 this year. Tell us about your first game.
Yeah, so number 24, which was previously worn by David Harris. So and he's a fantastic fella, and yeah, I was really proud to be able to carry on, I guess, his legacy and the legacy of everyone before him wearing the 24, including Michael Jennings, the head coach, actually. And yeah, in answer to your other question in regards to my first game, round 1, it was shared with Craig Fleer, who's an AFL umpire from South Australia, who's actually the first field umpire from SA to do a grand final, and a mentor of mine and a friend of mine. So to run out there with him was so special, and yeah, he made me feel, not just Craig, but Dory and Brownie, who I was also with, made me feel like I belonged and I was meant to be doing this. So yeah, pretty special to share the day with them, and yeah, it was a pretty good game, actually, North Melbourne and West Coast, and yeah, good to get the first official one out of the way, and yeah, I'll always remember it.
So let's go on to the 4 umpire system. It's actually probably really good way to get introduced to the AFL. You're not so much identified, I guess. You're not, like, when there's 4 of you, it's pretty hard to really pick on a particular umpire. Have you enjoyed umpiring the 4 umpire system?
Yeah, I have, mate. It's there was a steep learning curve initially. I'll say that. We trialled a few variations of the current system over the pre-season, and also prior to the pre-season, we went away to Darwin and was involved in their competition. So it's evolved a lot, and I've got no doubt it will continue to evolve. But ultimately, you've got an extra teammate out there, and from my perspective, that often means running with another experienced umpire who I can learn from. So I've loved it, and yeah, who knows what it will look like going forward, and what the next evolution is. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Just from a personal experience, I did have my 3 years in the AFL 20 years ago, and I remember how amazingly quick the footy was back then, and in the mid zone, you just came off absolutely stuffed. So I'm actually amazed it's taken so long to actually bring in. And yeah, for anyone that wants to think why they got 4 umpires, until you experience the pace of AFL, because it's only got quicker in the last 20 years, it just makes sense, really.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So tell us about some of the legendary AFL umpires that you've umpired with this year.
Yeah, well, Fleary, obviously in my first three games, ran with him. So, yeah, that was a fantastic start. Matt Stevic, I've run a couple of games with him, including the game at Cooper Stadium or Norwood Oval for Gather Round, which was a pinch yourself moment. Again, just going as a kid, watching games at Norwood. Never thought I'd be doing AFL, let alone an AFL game at Norwood Oval. I'm not sure what that was like for you, Colin, watching on, but it was pretty cool for me. So yeah, Matt Stevic, yeah, you're talking about potentially the greatest of all time, and for me, just an exceptional leader and educator for young umpires. So yeah, he's phenomenal. Matt Nichols umpired with Chambo yesterday, which was cool. There's so many great guys and girls, obviously, with our on the list, and yeah, hoping to tick a few more off my list over the years.
Yeah, I did notice the umpire with Ray Chamberlain yesterday. It was the North Melbourne Essendon game, which was a good game. So we're all intrigued. He's bigger than Ben Hur character. What is Ray really like?
What is Ray really like? Well, he's passionate. He's passionate. He's honest. He makes you feel like immediately comfortable and part of the team. And he's always got a story or two. So I think he is just a fantastic person to have around the group. And yeah, first time umpiring with him yesterday, but hopefully get another crack soon.
Yeah, nice. So tell us about some of the ovals you've been to, and what's been the biggest crowd you've been in front of this year?
Yeah, good question. I've ticked off a few grounds this year. So Optus Stadium was pretty cool. I've been at Marvel Stadium a few times now. Giant Stadium in GWS there. Canberra, I really liked Monica Oval. And I went down to Tassie in the pre-season and up to Darwin, but I'm yet to do an AFL game this season at Adelaide Oval, albeit I did a couple of years ago, and that'll be pretty cool to do one there. So hopefully get an opportunity down the track.
Yeah, nice. So what has been your biggest crowd that you've run in front of?
Yeah, it's a good question. I reckon at Optus Stadium they tend to pack it out a little bit, maybe 45. So yeah, I reckon that would be about it.
Yeah. And the closest or the best game that you've been involved in?
It was a cracker yesterday. I don't know if it's recency bias or not, but no, that it was rocking at Marvel yesterday afternoon, and yeah, I'd probably say that one actually, Colin.
Yeah, nice. So looking at yesterday, when do you get feedback? Do you know how you went yet, or is it does a couple of days go past before you really know?
Yeah, so I guess after the game you have that sort of informal catch-up check-in, and then this afternoon you get sent sort of a 20-odd clips by a huddle with various comments and discussion points, and then as a group on Tuesday we have like a team coaching, so they're more team specific clips and more formal assessment around performance, and yeah, it comes out tomorrow. So yeah, overall I felt we were pretty solid yesterday, and as we alluded to, it was a really good game, and all we want to do is sort of let the game do the work, and we just play our role in that.
So do you know where you're going this week?
I do. I'm Casey Fields in the VFL. So yeah, thanks for asking.
Well, I was going to say, as a first-year field umpire, it's unusual to not drop down. I mean, this is the first time you've dropped down, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done a couple of VFL games. So right. I know over the buy period, there's obviously not as many games each week. So no, the coaches are fantastic. They're transparent and give us, I guess, clear direction as to how we're tracking, what we need to work on, and sort of plans moving forward. So yeah, for me this year, it's all about learning and development, and sort of riding those waves ups and downs along the way. So looking forward to it. All a new experience for me. So yeah.
No, very good. Now this Zoom is limited to 40 minutes. I've got 7 minutes left, and I know there'll be some guys on the line that want to ask a question, so I'll open it up. I don't know what we'll get here, Tom, but if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask Tom a question, feel free. I don't want to be hogging all the questions. If anyone would like to ask, feel free. I don't think Cross is on the line. He would normally come on and say good day, I reckon. Otherwise, I'll keep going. If no one else wants to ask a question. No? All good. So tell us about a normal week. You have just the one session where you all come together?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's probably evolved a lot since you were out here, Colin. But we all have I might have one actually. It's this is our little GPS unit. So we flick this on and we get sent training programs, and you can track your data, your high speed running, your sort of slow jog stuff, and so we need to tick those off throughout the week. How you structure that is sort of dependent on what your game was, what your travel looks like. So you sort of fit that in around your best needs. So for example, with a game yesterday, I did a little flush run this afternoon. So I'll tick that off. And then Tuesday, obviously with group coaching, so we're in person for that. There's no real conditioning involved in that. We might do some skills work on Marvel Stadium, but more so it's coaching and reviewing your game with your coach and your team. And then the rest of the week, it's really up to you how you get your conditioning in. As I said, there's a high degree of autonomy and flexibility, which is fantastic, whether you like training in the morning, afternoon. And for me with work, sort of fit that in around work, training commitments. It's just a normal week for me. Every now and then I'll go and get a massage or something like that. But no, I'm pretty cruisy. Don't have too much routine. Just like trying to be organised and keep on top of things, and then come the weekend ready to go for whenever my game is.
Now one of the big things.
Hey, Colin.
Oh yeah. Alison.
Yeah, Colin. Sorry. Yeah, it's Alison. I'm dialing in from the car, and I was just trying to rack my brain for a question, Tom. But I did come up with one. Tom, I'm only a fairly new umpire, doing field umpiring and really enjoying it. But until I got involved in it, I never realised how incredibly difficult it is to get every decision and to see every decision. Because I think when I do see them, I call it, but how many times have I missed it, right? And so I wonder, when you are umpiring and you realise, oh God, I've totally missed something, or there was definitely holding the ball, but I just wasn't in the position to call it. How do you kind of pick yourself up and just keep cracking on? Because sometimes I dwell on the crap that I've just missed, and I beat myself up, and I'm like, oh God, I'm going to miss the next one or the next one if I don't, refocus. So I'm just wondering what your strategy is if you think, oh, I might have missed something, I might have made a blue or something.
Yeah, no, thanks for the question, Alison. It's fantastic, and probably if I knew the answer and knew how to execute that 100% of the time, I'd be a much better umpire for it. So I'm definitely working on it as well, like you. I remember Matt Stevick said something to me, and that's basically footy. There's always going to be another opportunity. So having that in the forefront of your mind, and just helps bring your focus back to what's in front of you right now. So whether it's a set kick control, make that set kick control the most important set kick control you're ever going to do, or the next holding the ball or the next decision, whatever it is, there'll be another opportunity. So hopefully that answers your question, but I might follow up with you and see if you've got any answers for me in a few weeks.
Now, Alison, that was a great question. She's actually Tom Wren's sister, so no wonder it was a good question. Well done, Ali. Hey, I've got 2.5 minutes. I do want to ask you, give us a bit of a snapshot on the pay scale for an AFL field umpire. I know people would be interested in that. It's a big jump up from what you were getting paid at Sample, that's for sure. Yeah, well,
it's we're working through the CBA now, I believe, actually. So basically, there's different sort of levels, and obviously match payments as well. Like any sort of grades, they go up with the level and whatnot. But for me, I love umpiring, and the pay side of things is great, and it sort of reflects the work that you need to put in, and that's why I sort of take it seriously, because it is a job, and we're out there to perform. So
in your first year, you're getting paid a half of what an established umpire does, or
that's probably a good way to break it down. The first 2 years are about half, as you said, and then there's an increase. So just keep my head down and keep working hard, and who knows what could happen.
So for established umpire, can you give us the figures for I know I've asked guys before and they've been happy to share it. I can't remember what it is. There's a base salary for an experienced umpire. What would the base salary be, and what would the game payment be?
Yeah, so I believe for an established guy, maybe 75 or 80,000 for a base, and then match payment sort of 2,300. Give or take there for field umpires.
Yeah, cool. Now that gives the guys a bit of an idea of what you get paid, which obviously isn't anything quite like the players, but it's still pretty good money. Hey, mate, it's about to knock off because we're limited to 40 minutes. Thank you so much. It's been a great chat, mate. I've always admired you. You're going to go a long way, and thank you very much for spending the time with us this afternoon.
No, thanks, Colin. Thanks everyone for having me, and all the best. Enjoy the weekend off, and hopefully catch a few of you at a Plimpton Bulldogs game soon.
Excellent. Thanks, mate. Before it cuts out, well done, and enjoy the break, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you.